Welcome to the War Team's Entrepreneur Foxhole podcast. Your host, Ben Williams. Your host, Martez Sims. Where military veterans in business discuss critical issues to win on the battlefield of entrepreneurship. Ruck up and rock steady.
Alrighty, we are back for another episode of Entrepreneur Foxhole, and we have the man, the myth, Martez Sims and Rob Brown. Rob Brown's our guest today. He's not really a guest to us, but he may be a guest to y'all. But we know him. But he's got so many great things we want to talk about today. So let's just hop right into it. Let's first talk about how did your military experience shape your approach to entrepreneurship, and especially towards real estate? Because I know you got a lot of other things going on, which we'll talk about.
Right. I think with my military experience, being in as long as I had, it was an easy transition for me. You know, after being in the military for 30 years, you grow accustomed to helping, coaching, teaching, and mentoring. Real estate was a smooth transition because most of the times you are helping people, you're coaching people. They don't know anything about real estate. I look at myself as a people person, so it was a very smooth transition into real estate for me. So
one of the things that really strikes with you that I know of that is you so mild-mannered, and you're a retired command sergeant major, and that just doesn't always fit for sergeant majors.
Right.
And how did you become this calm, cool, collected, not riled up guy that we see every day?
You know, it's funny. It happened, or it started in my teenage years. So where I grew up in South Philly, my cousins and his friends were about 5-6 years older than I was. So for me, I wanted to hang out with them. You know, I wanted to go where they went. So it's one of those things where you had to be seen but not heard, right? So I always played low key in the back. Don't want to, get on nobody's nerves or anything like that. And I think that's really where it started. And then into the military, 89, 90, you still had non-commissioned officers yelling, screaming, throwing stuff, and that just never appealed to me. Never appealed to me. I believe that, you can learn how to act based on watching what people do, right? And you either do that or they teach you what not to do. And I never really subscribed to the yelling and screaming. I felt like I could be effective just communicating with people, treating people with respect.
And that's one of the things that, coming out military, that it's a big transition. Not that we didn't treat people with dignity and respect, but it was just the culture that we were in that perpetuated this yelling and screaming the way it was. And it's totally different once you start doing your thing here. I know one of the questions that we had for you that we was really wanted to know a little bit more about, what unique challenges do you face as a veteran, as an entrepreneur? And how do you overcome it?
I think the biggest one is understanding that in the civilian world, they do things differently.
That's understandable.
Right?
Yes.
The sense of urgency is not there. Okay. In the military, hey, we need this done. Pretty much it's going to get done by the end of the day, or the day don't end. Here, they may say, okay, we'll take care of it right now. Right now could mean right now. It could mean later this afternoon. It could mean tomorrow. So just expectation management, really understanding that, the sense of urgency just is not there like it is in the military.
And I know Martez had a couple questions, and let him go ahead and kind of fire away a little bit.
I do, Rob. So what significant leadership lessons can you bring from your military service that helps you in your life right now as a realtor?
I think the biggest one is probably, valuing other people's opinions. I consider myself, that alpha, personality. But when you can look back and really listen and take heed to other people's input, doesn't mean you always have to, agree with or go with it, but it's just a different perspective. So just that was something I had to learn the hard way. But yeah, just understanding and listening to other people, and yeah, that really helps out.
Okay, now I got another one. You brought up another point. It seems a little bit counterintuitive. On one hand, you're saying that you're that mild-mannered guy.
Right.
And on the other hand, you just said, I'm that alpha guy.
Yes.
So how do you reconcile the fact that, yes, I'm an alpha, but yes, I'm that mild-mannered leader?
Yeah, I think that's another one of those misconceptions that in order to be this alpha, you got to be this loud, outspoken person, which that's not me, right. But at the same time, I'm confident, I'm calm. I know what I want. I know what direction I want to go in. But again, I value people's opinion. I value people. So I think, it's just a misconception. Those two things can coexist.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I got a question. So 30, how many years?
30 years, 6 months.
30 years, 6 months.
I don't know how many hours. But
And typically 30 years, 6 months, those guys are not really out creating another world, creating another life. They rolled out off in the sunset. Mm-hmm. But not only you and your wife, who is also retired military, who's doing an amazing thing in the space of loans for homes, and you're a realtor.
Right.
What keeps y'all going, or what keeps you going? Like, why are you doing this, Rob? Like, why are you out here in this hustle and bustle with these clients, doing all this stuff, running around? Why are you doing this?
I think it's a love for people, giving back. It's not a job. This is not a job. I think when this becomes a job, then maybe I'll, sit down. My mom, she says, Robert, when are you going to stop? When are you just going to sit down? And I'm like, Mom, I'm living. Even in the military, we enjoyed it so much. We traveled, we met people and formed new relationships and things like that. And to this day, we have friends and family all over the world, literally. And so now in real estate, once again, we enjoy helping. Like I say, 30 years of mentoring people, coaching people, family, fitness, finance, all of those things is not new to us. So for me, this space that I'm in right now is a comfortable space. I enjoy it. It gives me purpose, and you got to have purpose, and that's what keeps me going.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And can you speak to your wife a little bit and what she does, and maybe throw a little plug in there for her for what she does?
Yes.
How amazing she is in such a short amount of time.
Right.
She's all over. You think there's 3 of her if you really didn't know. Here in El Paso, she is killing the game right now in mortgages, and maybe talk about that a little bit.
Right. So, if I didn't already know how amazing she was, I would know because everybody tells me about it. People that I've known for 3, 4 years, 5 years since I've been in the real estate business, now they're like, oh, Rob, your wife is so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. But no, so Carla, when she was in the military, I would tell people, honestly, I think she was the best soldier I ever knew. She always strived for perfection. She was always in that position where she had to prove herself. Female black officer. She had to work hard. She had to prove herself. And she did it. And for me, I think it came easy for her. So once, just like I am, I enjoy helping, teaching people. So does she. She's that leader. And then I think when she had about 3 years left, she looked at how the real estate business was, how I was enjoying it, right? She knew she was going to enjoy it. So she was waiting. She was just waiting to jump in, head first into the business. So she hit the ground running. And, I didn't know whether she was a real estate agent or a loan officer, because she was out there doing open houses, realtor tour, you name it. She's just out there connecting with people, and really getting her brand out there. And now, things are starting to shift, where it was 90% out there hustling, bustling. Now, the clients are coming in. She's starting to, interact more from getting those loans approved and things like that. So she's out there. You're right. She's amazing. I love her. I'm glad she's on my team.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad she's on our team too.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Oh, which I want to speak to something else. For the people that don't know, I got to meet Rob's wife in Puerto Vallarta. So a lot of people don't know as our brokerage, we're more than just a brokerage. We travel together, we party together, we work together, we grind together, we do everything together. And I got to meet her in Puerto Vallarta. And well, I want to speak to that you had left us.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And you left us. and he went down to San Antonio, and we had a going away for him, everything, right, Martez?
Yeah, yes.
And one day I'm in the airport. He's moved on to San Antonio, and he's moved on, and I'm in the airport. Me and my wife is in the airport, and all of a sudden I see him in the airport. And a lot of people don't know that you end up coming back to us.
That's right.
And I think for the audience to kind of, because I know the reason why, and I know partially what it was, but I think they don't know about our brokers and what we do.
Right.
And what was one of the driving forces, not the driving force,
Yes.
but one of the driving forces I know for you and your wife was about what you learned down there in the business, and then you came back. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So just real quick, we said that we're going to live in San Antonio. We had never been there, and we're going to go there. That's going to be our retirement spot, and we have been saying it for 5-6 years, probably even longer. So fast forward, I love to hear it at with Ben and back then Exit, and but it was time to move on. So I went down to San Antonio. I was down there for 6 months, looking to establish my roots, find a home, and everything. And I got signed on with a different brokerage, within Exit. And it just wasn't what I was used to, right? Part of the reason why I do real estate is the family. It's not about transaction. It's not just about trying to make money. I can live here, and I feel like I'm a part of a family. So,
Amen.
And nothing nothing bad about San Antonio, because they ran an amazing company, but it wasn't what I was used to, So after a while, I was just like, I have reached out to one of the real estate agents and said, hey, look, I'm going to look for a house back in El Paso. So we looked for a house, we found it. And I wasn't going to tell anybody because I wasn't quite sure if this thing was going to work out, but it did. And, so found a house. Fast forward, and I was getting ready, my option period was going to run out. So I said, man, I need to fly back to El Paso and look at this house, before my option period. So I came back, and that's when, I was in the airport. And out of all the airports and all the different days and all the different flights.
And all the different gates.
The mere fact that I run into Ben on this, I think it was it Saturday night?
Yeah,
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
I hear Rob. And it was a message from God, like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. And, but the thing that brought me back, like I say, is family. It's family here at the Ward team. There's no giveaways here or anything like that. You got to work, you got to want it. But if you have a little bit in you, we'll give you, most of the rest, right? We'll push you, so. It's amazing, and that's why I'm back here, and I appreciate all the gifts I got on my going away.
Got them gifts, got them everything.
I think I still got bottles of tequila in my bar.
High value gifts.
Yes.
And even when it happened, people said, he go be back. Yeah, but that's cool.
Yes,
That's cool.
yes, absolutely. I appreciate y'all.
So I do have a question, Rob. You know, you've done a lot. You've done things in your military career, even out here in real estate, at a really high level. And I don't think you can operate at that level without having some critics.
He's having his best year yet.
Yes, you know what I mean? So
Thank you.
how do you deal with criticism, especially from those that don't see your vision?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I care. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't care. So, you know, you say, well, you can't really care about what people say about you because everybody has an opinion, but I do.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know, I feel like what I do comes from the heart. You know, whatever I do, I'm looking out for someone's best interest or whatever. I'm trying to do my best. But the criticism comes and, you know, but then I just gotta say, hey, it's gonna happen. You know, everybody has an opinion and I just gotta stay true to who I am, you know, and as long as I'm a son of God and going down the right path and doing the right thing, hey, bring it on.
Yes.
So, question for you.
Yes.
Since we drilling you and we got you here.
I know, I feel like I'm at a board.
Yeah, you've done a lot and people don't understand. You're having your best year you ever had. Starting off just Q1, you're killing it. Your clients love you. That's one of the things I've noticed in what you do. They end up loving you. They end up taking a deeper love for you and becoming friends. Can you speak to that? You know, people don't understand, like they think this is, hey, we're realtors, we get all this money and all this other stuff, but it's really not. I've seen several different times where you've cut your commission, you've done things to try and make it happen for your clients. Can you talk about some of the sacrifices, even personal or work related, or a moment in time that you've made these sacrifices that maybe people just don't know?
Mm-hmm. So I think with my clients, you know, the first thing for me is really to get to understand, you know, what's their why, you know, why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they pursuing, you know, home buying now? Understanding their personal situation, you know, so like one of my recent clients, they've been renting houses for 15 years. You know, they got kids that's in high school, you know, and the mere fact of them thinking of owning a home is so real for them, you know, and I believe that none of these are transactions. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, you have those situations where you got a difficult realtor on the other side of the deal, you know, or you have a difficult client, and those come and go. But overall, 90% of what we do, you know, is just, you can't help but be passionate about helping somebody achieve a lifelong dream, you know, whether it's their first home, whether they're getting into investing or whatever the case may be, you know. So those are the things that help me to connect. And when I let them know, you know, after this, you know, process is done, we're family. You know, if you reach out. And a lot of my clients do come from referrals, past clients, and everything like that, you know. And when they see that you care, you know, it matters, you know. And this one client, he said, he called me, he said, Rob, this insurance person called me and they told me something and I told them no. You need to talk to my real estater first, because that's my real estater. And I just, hey. I mean, it was funny, but I was just like, it just showed, you know, how much trust they had in me, and I appreciate it, you know. And that, again, those are the types of things that keep you going and make you, after you have a bad or a not so pleasant transaction or something, something like that comes back and it brings the human side back to it and makes you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, definitely. People just like, this business it's so, like, you got to put in work to get work, but when you get work, it can be so gratifying.
Yes.
And absolutely. I don't think people understand the other side of that being on the other side of a closing table when you're seeing somebody absolutely happy, ecstatic about what they've done.
Yeah.
And that's crazy right there.
It is.
So we talking about successes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Successes. What have you learned from the failures? What have you learned from the failures? And can you speak to some of the failures or something that you've made really, really want to share with us so maybe people can really make a decision?
Well, I'll tell you one thing from a real estate strictly perspective, every transaction, every client is different, you know, and I've been doing this for almost 5 years, and there are situations that I've never experienced before, you know, and good thing I do have an amazing team, but, you know, sometimes you do make those clerical errors, and here in real estate, when you make those types of errors, it costs you. You know, it costs you financially. You know, so those things, in what you have to, the way you have to look at it is, this is a process. This is a long game. You know, and you take those mistakes. You may have spent weeks dealing with a client, your time, your effort, your money, your gas, and then they ghost you. You know, for no reason, just, you know, and all she wanted is an explanation.
Yeah.
You know, hey, Rob, you know, things aren't, but that's okay. That's a part of this business, and you learn from it. And then any mistakes that you make during, you know, as you go on, you add them to your toolkit, you emphasize them as you go on. And you just try not to make the same mistakes again. But I think one of the things that I would say is success on the other side of that is really just taking my knowledge, you know, from real estate and sharing it with my clients. You know, I tell people about, you know, investing and things like that, talking about my quadplex and how I did it, mainly the military personnel who's like, oh, I'll never retire here in El Paso. Why would I buy property? You know, it's just such an opportunity. But again, successes outweigh, you know, the failures. You know, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. And that's how I look at it.
I think I was busy. I was passing tequila. I was doing some other things, but I don't think you answered Ben's question. What? He didn't answer your question.
He did not.
But
he got in something I want to go to.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go there, but we got to come back.
Yeah. We didn't talk about no failures.
We didn't talk about no failures.
It sounds like y'all got something in mind.
Yeah. No, I ain't got nothing in mind. I'm just saying, okay, you know, like, you know, it's like, can you talk about maybe a failure or a moment in time that you felt like it was a failure, but you know,
you learned from it.
The lessons learned in that process. I got tons of them. I could talk about 50,000 of them, but you know.
Yeah, no, I got you. Everything that glitters isn't gold. Okay, do your research. You know, people will come to you with these great, grandioso plans and everything, and I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was not doing my research. You know, trusting someone else's research, trusting someone else, and it cost. You know, it cost. You know, financially. You know, it was If we weren't set up the way we are, it could have been devastating. You know, but so the takeaway is like, look, there's a lot of get rich quick schemes out there.
Yes.
You know, so you just really have to be careful with that. Another one is, as far as real estate is concerned, is, you know, all of these paying for leads and things like that. You know, those types of things, you know, they sound good. I've done it. I tens of thousands of dollars into, guaranteed this, guaranteed that, and very little return. So that's a lesson that I've learned, and I stay away from those things. Yes. A lot of the stuff that they're telling you can do.
I believe the biggest hustle in the world, may be one of the biggest hustles in the world, is preying on real estate agents.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, hey, look, we go respond. We go be like, you know, but that's one of the biggest hustles in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I look at, don't get me wrong, I understand what Title and everybody does and all these other people does, and we need to work with them. But we got to understand, we are the number one lead source for so many trades.
Yes.
And they preying on us. And we got to be smart about it. But I'm glad you mentioned that because it's crazy sometimes.
It is, absolutely.
You talked about something, and I want to speak on that because, you know, we've talked in many times in the brokerage about the winner's equation. And I've done this before in our accountability groups and stuff like that. I talk about, well, everybody talks about the 6 championships that Michael Jordan won, right? But I heard somewhere, and this is something I'm paraphrasing. The winner's equation is that the winner has lost many more times than most people that are losers, if you will. But they've lost many more times.
Right.
Yes. That's just because they've just done so many more attempts.
That's right.
And, you know, we talk about Michael Jordan. I think, you know, again, I don't know these numbers to be exact, but, you know, 500 some odd games he's lost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's judged by 6 games he's won.
Yeah.
But if you hear him talk, he's lost over 500 some odd games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about it. The winner's equation, especially in real estate, you know, the person that has the most attempts at things here, you know, we pretty much know that the person that has the most contacts kind of wins this game, right? But anyway, let's go into something. Let's tell us something. We go throw these papers out the window, right?
Okay.
Throw these papers out the window, right?
We don't need that.
We don't need that.
Don't need that.
Tell the public about Rob. Who is Rob Brown today?
Okay.
Well, maybe start where Rob Brown came from, but who is Rob Brown today?
Okay. So Rob Brown, born and raised in South Philadelphia.
Proud of it.
Yes, proud. Go Eagles, right?
Here we go.
That's right. Super Bowl champions. Come on, throw it up. Born and raised in South Philadelphia. Single parent home. Me and my brother, we grew up there. We come from very humble beginnings. I attribute who I am today primarily from my mom. We didn't have everything, but one thing, you know, she instilled values in us. You know, caring. You know, just being good people. She's always been a hard worker. So that's where I come from. I stayed in South Philly until I was 19 years old, joined the military. That wasn't planned. You know, I never really had this drawn out plan, like I'm going to do this, and this. So the military came my way and I decided to go there. First time I ever left Philadelphia, you know, or on a plane was to go into the military.
So let's give, don't say military. Let's give your branch some props. Call it what it is.
The United States Army.
Okay.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. So I joined the Army. And let me give my branch, the Signalers, you know, as a signal soldier. So yeah, joined in 1989. And I love the Army. At first, you know, just probably like a lot of youngins, when we first get in there, not sure if we want to stay. I remember calling my mom, telling their mom, you know,
this isn't for me.
This ain't for me. I think I'm going to come back, get my old job back, you know. And she was like, Robert, just stick with it, you know. Every closed eye ain't, you know, sleep or whatever, however that saying goes, you know. And then shortly after that, I started getting recognized for some of my accomplishments. And I think that motivated me to stay in, you know, when promotions came. And, you know, and I'll tell you, my time in the military has been it was 30 years. It went by very fast. I did a variety of things, to be in combat units, to be in strategic units, to be an instructor, a lot of different things. So that made my time go by in the military, formed a lot of really good relationships, met people, and continue to see people that, you know, I may not have seen in over 20 years and things like that. So that's sort of formed who I am, you know, and I'm glad I got a chance to get away from South Philadelphia, or else that's all I would have known, you know. So I got to see people from different places and everything, which again shapes who I am today. You know, again, transitioning into real estate is something I thought about doing back in 2008, right before the housing crisis happened. And I was just getting ready to get into it because I was almost at the 20-year mark. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get out. I'm going to retire. I'm going to get my real estate license. I was in the Washington, D.C. area. Housing market crashed, or the financial crisis. And I said, no, this is not what I need to be doing right now. So I decided to, stick it out for another 10 years. That flew by, and so I'm then got into the real estate piece, and it's been good. It's been good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, folks, there you have it. I want to just say thank you for joining us. Thank you, Rob, for joining us. Thank you, Martez.
Thank you.
We're going to have more.
Yep.
We're going to have more.
Stay tuned. We're coming back next week with the next one. So if you think you like Rob Brown, wait to see who we got for you next week.